Hello again, Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, and back with the Rat Catchers from Malifaux, Brotherhood of the Rat box set, tan skin 09044. So the Rat Catchers are, well, pretty self-explanatory, as prevalent as rats are in the city, as well as the vectors for not just Hamlin's notorious plague, but other more mundane diseases. There's a constant demand to get rid of them. But Hamlin has some of the rat catchers under his dominion, and some are rat kings that have somehow transcended their original form and become human. That's an ability they had in 2nd edition, so yeah, that's a thing. This sculpt, there's 2 different sculpts will be showing bits and pieces of both. But this one, I'm not sure if he's laughing at this rat or if he's about to swallow it whole. Yeah. Get a nice solid coat on that arm there. And I'll pick out that wrapping at his wrist later. I'm pretty sure this is simply a trap in his left hand. He has a few more standard looking rat traps on his belt. And I'll be applying variant washes to make them look filthy as possible. He's made a poor decision of having only one shoe. Definitely not something you do when you're hunting rats that bite, but for the other sculpt, going to use, where is it? Olive Skin 09221. And he's not making a very good fashion decision either, because while he has shoes on, his calves are exposed, which are pretty low to the ground and convenient biting range of any rats he comes across. There is a full rat catchers guild in Malifaux, but with the current Governor General, I can't remember his name, outlawing all mercenary work and canceling all bounties, including assumably the one on rats, it's unknown what's going to happen to that group. But the rat catchers, thanks to one of their newer characters, Benny I think is his name, but I can't quite remember if that's right, has infiltrated Von Schill's new encampment. And I'm going to need to give that a minute before I get the next base coat on. Right, things are dry enough to move on. So, Woodstain Brown 09160. This will go on rats and hair. Again, is he laughing at the rat, or is he about to eat the rat? I think either or, really. Maybe both. Yeah. Again, we got a big guy laughing at a rat. He's got another one peeking out his bag, about to crawl out. And he's got kind of the same haircut as Wednesday Addams. Not quite a mullet, not quite something else. And this one's just shaking out a big bag full of rats. This one's also a little top-heavy in terms of the weight, but he's not nearly as bad as Hammer himself was. And the rat catchers will release rats into especially high rent districts just to get extra money from rich people afraid of rats. And then Templar Blue 09056 will get some pants here. Flesh tone still drying in some places. I'll have to hold off on that a bit, but tattered denim, which was apparently a fabric developed during the California gold rush in the real world, provide a more durable material for miners and other laborers. So I think how prolific it is in today's society is very telling about how successful it must have been back then. They're both going to have basically the same color scheme on their outfits. Pretty much just working men's clothes. Oh. I just noticed his got something of a beer belly sticking out, so a little more tan flesh on that. Or tanned skin. Okay. Alright. Let that dry, move on a bit. Okay. Leather White 09062. Getting the shirt that's just barely covering what looks like a beer belly. There's a little bubble there, just pop that real quick. I'm going, well, A, I need to keep my hand out of the camera plane, but 2, getting the shirt that's under the bag. And his sleeves go up to his elbow, so he likely has a full shirt. Yep. Just a couple of working guys dumping rats all over the place. Okay. And there's one more little bit I can get, and that's going to be Shield Brown 09161. Get started on the traps. Yeah. Okay, and there is a little rope hooking them to this belt, so there are his traps. Whoa. And I drop him. I got no grip today. And this yokel's traps. go ahead and do this big box in the same wood as well. Give it a metal handle later. There's not a whole lot of detail on this. And when I did Nert's Heartsbane a while ago, which I never got before I was doing videos, she had a lot of detail on the bag for her electroshock unit that she carries around. And I feel there should be other details on this as well, but there aren't. And then getting that white again, that leather white, to get this wrapping around his arm. Okay. Alright. Getting there. Yeah, I need to wait a minute while some of this dry first, so back in a bit. Alright. Tarnished Steel 09206. Not much of this, just a little bit on the mechanical portions of the traps and the handle of his little box, as well as the same elements on his friend there. And this brush is getting a little too ragged, so I'm just going to switch over. Generally, a shorter brush will give you better control, but in this case I'm working with what I have. Because I tend to use my shorter brushes more often, they do wear out more quickly. And then Terran Khaki 09122. This one's about cached. I think I've got something I can replace it with, though. But hopefully I can get enough out of here to do what I would like to do. Well, I'm going to cross my fingers and see if it's enough. It might be. Just going to get the bags. This is a nice color for burlap. And those are police sirens in the background. I live in, my condo is next door to an age-restricted senior citizens condo, and there are emergency services vehicles there 2 or 3 times a week, unfortunately. But I'm also just one road over from a major arterial road in my town here, so a lot of traffic there. This is a little trickier, and this bag was kind of a pain to assemble because it was multiple pieces. I'm going to try a slightly larger brush. This may or may not work. That sounds like there are crows just outside. So, plenty of interesting noises to kind of fill this in. I have to wonder what's got the crows so agitated, though, to make this much noise. I haven't heard that here, I think, ever, actually. That's kind of... Huh. Okay, and then Rosy's Skin, 09068. We'll do some paws and tails on the rats. I'll just leave 2 more base coats, and then I can start shading. Looks like I nicked his face a little with the white. It'll be okay. That'll come out easily when I do washes. It's a bit too thick. Just getting the ends of the paws here. These are not as close to as large as the Malifaux rats I did previously. Over here. I can't quite see the other paws. I can at least get the tail. Okay. Let that dry and move on to net. Alright. Oiled leather 09110. Yeah, the crows are still freaking out. I'm not sure what's bugging them. It didn't start all that long ago. Tracing out the belt. It was partially obscured by the bags. I'm not going to worry about that part. And then his shoes. Okay. Okay. And over here, belt. Actually covered up mostly by his shirt. And he actually has the bag slung around his back via a rope. Oh, that's his back. I thought that was part of his shirt. Okay. And we'll get the rope there. His one boot. And I'll just give his back of his neck a quick touch up off camera before moving on to the base. Okay. Uniform gray. This is an army painter war paint color. Nothing too special about this, just carefully going around the feet to get the basing, so I only do one of them on camera. It's not completely dry yet on that leather, but I think I can work with it. Yeah, the army painter. It definitely needs much less water than the Reaper paints do. So, bear that in mind. As they're all both water-based acrylics, they're compatible, but just keep in mind the differences in consistency. Same thing for the other. So I guess I forgot to mention, these did come with the Brotherhood of the Rat box set, which had a story encounter and a module for the Through the Breach RPG. And in that, it's pretty much the Player characters escorting a rat catcher to deal with an infestation at a new outpost in the slums. Okay, that's base coats. Once it's all dried up, I can start shading. Time to highlight. This is working. Or not highlight, shade. Ruddy leather 09109. Going to thin this out with 1 part paint to 1 part water, making it into a wash. And it will run a bit. I'm just going to roll with it. I can do touch-ups as needed later. Goes much quicker than the base coats. Notice I'm not using just the tip, but the entire side of the brush as well. And then Rosy Shadow 09067. And Blackened Steel 09205. Not too terribly much of this. Using the brush to soak up some of the excess that got there. Okay, let that dry and move on. Alright, next, Woodstain Brown 09160. Going over the mouse traps, and I just obscured the metal, so I'll be blotting that out a bit. Just dabbing it on there, and then his box. Khaki Shadow 09121. Trying not to nick the rat crawling out of his bag. Okay. Bit of a bubble there. Just smooth that over. And get in there. Okay. Breonne Blue 09055. Starting to run a bit thin, but I've got enough, I think. Okay. Then Linen White 09061. Get too much paint, not enough water on that part. And then wrapping this up with pure black 09037. And working with this or other very dark colors as a shade, you'll want to thin it out a little more than usual. So normally you want 1 to 1 water to paint. You'll want 2 to 3 parts water per part, 1 part paint, maybe more. Otherwise, it'll just completely obscure all the details. This is just going on the bulk of the rats here. And then for him, the rat and his hair, but he's got the passes for hair anyway. Looks like he was trying to grow a mullet and forgot halfway through. That's just going to leave the skin tone and the base, see if we can start highlighting and detailing. Alright, shading some flesh tones. Alright. Tanned Shadow 09043. He definitely has a cruel looking face. Unlike the obedient wretch from a few videos ago that in the concept art had a cruel face but wound up looking a bit too kindly for her concept in the physical model. Drain that little excess that flowed down the rope there. And won't forget his beer belly. A bit of that got on his shirt. And then Olive Skin Shadow 09220. And I like to mix up my skin tones where appropriate. And whether it's appropriate or not depends on the game and how it's described in the fictional role. Malifaux's got people from all over the world, so has a more cosmopolitan population than, say, the nations of War Machine, where the people hail from specific areas. Just a little bit more there. I seem to miss a bit on the underarms. I'll just take a little linen white, excuse me, a linen white and get that. And then there'll be one more shade over the bulk of the model before I wrap up with the base and move on to highlight and detail. Alright, next up, Rainy Gray 09038. I'm going to do this over the bulk of the model to give them a grungier, dirtier look. For all these guys live in the slums and catch rats for a living. Switch into a slightly larger brush for this. I'm thinning this out a little more than usual as well. And I'm going to put this over basically everything except the rats, because I want the rats to be cleaner than the catchers. I need to do this before I do the base because this could end up flowing down in there and altering the exact look of it. And then on the Laughing Man here, Chuckles be another good nickname for him too, though. Making sure to get his trap, his skin, his clothing, but carefully trying to avoid the rat crawling out of his bag as well as one in his hand. And I'll worry about that in a minute. Okay. Back in a minute. Okay. Stormy Gray 09088. And this is just going to go on the bases. Just need to do one of them, these guys on camera. That. I put a bit too much water in here. Nope. So we'll do the other. And let's see, I can start on a few details. Pure white 09039. Which is about shot. Kind of surprised it's lasted this long though. Let's see, the finest brush I have. And so this is being done essentially as a base coat. Just carefully dotting in the eyes. And blood red 09003. Carefully filling in the mouths and eyes on rats. And some of these I'm kind of have to take an educated guess to where the eyes are. Not that obvious. Essentially, this is supposed to look like a near formless mass of rodents. So they're not as distinct from each other as they would be in normal circumstances. That granny looks a bit like a Muppet. pure white again. If I can get my brush to cooperate, it's got a bit of a something on that. Getting its teeth. Alright. Once that's completely dry, I can wrap up details. Okay. Last little detail, pure black 09037 is going to dot some pupils into the eyes here. Very carefully. And now, do some highlights and wrap up. Start with tanned highlight 09045. And I'll be using a dry brushing technique. So you'll want a ragged feathered brush for this. Something along the lines of that. No water, just straight paint. You can rub your excess off on a paper towel until it looks like there's nothing left, just like that. And it lightly does the area to be affected. Catching the most raised areas. You want to go against any sharp angles. And then you can sometimes refresh your paint right from the paper towel. I tried a regular towel that I could reuse with this, and it just didn't work out very well, so bear that in mind. You generally will want to use as many reusable things as you can in this hobby just to save a bit of money, if nothing else. But that's not one of them. Get that out of the way now that you've seen it. Want your brush completely dry between coats. Olive skin highlight 09222. With that in mind, I do happen to have several brushes on hand. This pot is clogged, so paper clip down the nozzle. There we go. Now I've got enough to work with. Because I have several brushes that are suitable, I'll just be switching fairly freely. So, I suppose one thing I haven't talked about in any of these Malifaux videos is the city itself. It is a city, and I think it's intended to be an alternate dimension for its location. Shield 10961. But it acts as a central hub through which the mining of soul stones is facilitated. And the city itself is divided into 3 main areas above ground. Downtown, where the wealthy elite live. The slums, which is where everybody else lives for the most part. And several quarantine zones that are not only full of dangerous creatures, but where the worst dregs of society sometimes end up hiding out in, with the emphasis on the hiding. Rosy highlight 09069. while there are multiple plagues going on, including an undead plague that creates mindless zombies, which can also be made through magic, by the way. Hamlin has his own rather brutal plague. Its effects not... It's been a while since I've read the fiction concerning Hamlin's first appearance, but seem to gloss over the exact effects of his plague, other than that it's insanely virulent. Ashen Blue 09056, no, 57, 09057. Okay. And Hamlin's plague can be spread both by the infected, of course, as well as his precious rats. So while the guild takes them seriously, most of their measures tend to be centered around downtown. Just enough work in the slums to stop it from getting out of control. Ghost White 09063. Oh, any dual shield brown on his head. There's another storm coming in, so rain is on the way. Now that Ghost White. That's going to happen sometimes. You might end up forgetting one detail as you work on things, and I just realized I forgot to do a little highlight on his belly, so I'll come back to that in a second. I'm definitely getting the dirty look I want on his clothing. It's not as pronounced on the other guys, but it works well enough. Just got a little of that tan highlight in on this guy's gut before I move on. Leather, the Driftwood Brown next 09162 and get the wood, and then move on to the leather and get them wrapped up. What's the best brush for the job? You. Getting there. Khaki highlight 09123. I'm concerning myself with the most readily visible surfaces as far as the shading goes. For highlighting, I mean not shading, getting a little mixed up. in it. Burnt orange 09111. Being really careful along the ropes, belts. I don't nick things I don't want to. Loosen up on his boot though. And true silver 09207. And about the finest brush I have. And it is comped my camera. And Misty Gray 09090 is the last shade. Or, not shade, highlight. Done it twice now. I can switch to a larger brush for this. Getting the base. Okay, now pure black again, 09037. A little more than last time. I'll also be switching to a flat brush. Round brushes are what I use for the bulk of my work. This is done the same way as a base coat. Just moderate amount of water, just enough to keep to thin the paint a little bit and get the brush moist. Just lining the edge, being careful not to hit the basing that I've just finished. And basing is something I just do by hand. I just punched my camera again with the brush. And just to show it, get the other one. Keeping the brush wet as needed. The flathead is getting essentially the whole edge at once here. Okay. Once that dries completely, there's one last step I can do on camera. Just wrap this up. Okay, last step, pure white 09039. Just just going to label them with Roman numerals so I can quickly tell them apart in a game. And which one do I like better? Okay, so Roman numeral number 1. These are easy to do just because they're simply just a bunch of lines, and then 2. And that is it. The rat catchers from the Brotherhood of the Rat box set. I'll be switching games for the next 2 videos, then back to Malifaux. Until next time, I am Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, signing out.